If you're going to donate your hard-earned money to something, then it better be one hell of a good cause. Well, how about an innovative and proven strategy for making people smarter and more civically engaged, and for making our world freer, more just, and democratic? Sound good so far? Well, oddly enough, it begins with teaching high school students what their schools don't want them to know about their First Amendment rights. Since 1969, all students at American public schools have had the legal right to create their own publications, uncensored by school officials, and to distribute those publications at school during school hours, whether teachers and administrators like it or not.
Students do not know that they have free speech rights, that they can have an opinion, write it, voice it, and it can go unedited.
As a student who was interested in journalism, who went on to a career in journalism, were you aware of your press rights when you were a high school student?
No, I wasn't, and they were never really even discussed. The high school newspaper that I was a part of, it was also a class, and so we did discuss journalistic tenets, inverted pyramid structures, who, what, where, when, why. But looking back on it, no, we never reviewed those sorts of press rights or those Supreme Court decisions that might have had a huge impact on our learning.
So what we need then are empowering grassroots educators working directly with students outside of the school system. That's what my friend Lisa O'Keefe and I decided we were going to do back in 1999, when, as 19-year-olds, the two of us founded an organization called Free Student Press.
I first met Damon and Lisa at a Gay Straight Alliance meeting that I was attending. They came and did a short presentation about Free Student Press.
I remember meeting Damon and Lisa through Devin, who started everything really with us.
I was really good friends with Devin A. She really was interested in the whole idea.
After we had met for, I think, just a couple weeks, students from one particular high school got a publication together.
Through these publications, students can create educational and empowering forums for public dialogue that don't exist anywhere else in the lives of teenagers.
The students were really excited about the first issue. It was like everyone was talking, people were talking to people who were not inside their friend group. They were all showing the paper to each other. We didn't have any trouble getting more submissions. We had tons and tons of stuff. A lot of it was about child abuse, drug abuse, self-harm. We talked about the Gay Straight Alliance, and we got into some pretty intense issues and things that needed to be talked about.
Even though it's illegal for school administrators to censor independent student publications, you can usually count on them to try.
The reason why we're here is because our school won't let us meet and talk about our rights on school property.
Right.
And since this is public property, we figured we could meet here. We're not destroying anything.
Doesn't make a difference.
Are we causing a problem?
Don't make a difference, okay? Everybody needs to disperse, okay?
Thank you.
Everybody hit the road.
Very soon, it may have even been the first day after we passed out the paper, the three core group members were all called into the principal's office separately, and we were all threatened with suspension and told not to ever pass the paper out again. A suspension would likely knock me out of the running for valedictorian and would make it difficult for me to get into a good college.
I got suspended for 10 days for expressing my opinion in the school.
Right. What did he say the reason was?
Because it was inflammatory, but when I asked him to point out part of the article that causes problems and disruptions, he couldn't do it.
What do you guys think? What?
10 days of suspension for voicing her opinion, which is freedom of the press. The Bill of Rights is our rights, and they're taking them away from us. We can't do anything.
We say we value democracy so much, and yet so much of what goes on in schools is clearly anti-democratic. There's a lot that goes on in schools that's clearly illegal. Sometimes my students will say, well, then how come it goes on? And I'll say, well, because of tradition. And unless someone actively challenges the power and authority of a local school district, a superintendent, their board of education, then tradition just continues on and on and on.
Every student deserves an opportunity to make a student newspaper. This was more of a learning opportunity than some of the classes I took. I learned more about the law and what I can and can't do, and it was firsthand experience, which always sticks with people more.
And through defending their publications against censorship, students gain the grassroots organizing skills to confront authoritarianism and injustice elsewhere in our society long after graduation.
Having this experience with the lockdown paper really showed me that you can actually make a difference. You can affect change. You can change people's minds. You can make a difference. And if I hadn't had that really positive experience at such a young age, I think I may have given up on changing the world by now.
To unlock the potential of independent student publications, students need to know their rights and basic journalism law, and they need the ongoing support of empowering educators.
When we had Damon and Lisa supporting us and telling us, no, you are right, what you're doing is right, you have a legal right to do this, and we're here to help you, it just made everything seem so much more hopeful, and I don't know how far we would have been able to pursue it without the guidance from those adults who really did care what was going on with us.
These students, if they're just operating on their own in their insular community, school community, they're going to have a hard time succeeding. They need input and support, and I think a campaign like this is a great way to do it.
I've already done this work on a small scale with students in Ohio from 1999 through 2005. Now, I'd like to do this work on a larger scale in several towns in the southeast U.S. over the next 2 years. In each of those towns, I'll begin by recruiting a team of college student volunteers to join me in working with the high school students in their area, just as Lisa and I did when we were college students 10 to 15 years ago. I'll meet weekly with each town's high school and college students until the college students are ready to take over my role facilitating the empowering education of the high school student publishers. From there, I'll move on to other towns and repeat the process. Meanwhile, I'll develop an online network linking the various independent student publications to one another. I'm also a published journalist, so as I do the work with students, I'll write a book about it. And finally, I'll use that book to convince either a national organization or major funders to expand this work nationwide. But that won't happen without your help. So if you feel this is a cause worth supporting, please donate today.
The Kickstarter campaign to aid student journalism is a great idea and deserves all the support it can get.
I urge you to donate to this campaign because there are some very important lessons here that otherwise aren't really being taught in public high schools.
We can't truly have a democracy without having an empowering educational experience. Consider making a donation to support this project because the future of our children really rests on this.